Good afternoon. My name's Rene van den Bedem. I'm an enterprise architect and strategist who's been working in the IT and telecoms industries for the past 20 years. I'm also VCDX 133 and I blog at vcdx133.com. Today I'm here to talk to you about VCDX preparation. So first question is, what's the big deal? What is VCDX? VCDX is the VMware Certified Design Expert program. So a VCDX is expected to be an enterprise architect and a strategist that takes an entire solution from the customer requirements all the way through the design methodology, which includes the conversion of the customer's problems and business requirements into a conceptual model. Then from there translate that into a multi-silo logical design, and then from there to the physical design. This also includes the implementation plans, configuration guides, test plans, and standard operating procedures, where you're delivering a total solution to the customer that includes technology, process, and people. So before you start your VCDX process, it's very important to consider 5 questions. So the first thing is, do you have the support of your family and employer? Because once you start the VCDX, it's like a time vortex. You just get sucked into it. You also need to consider if you have the experience necessary to attempt the process. So if you've never done design before, it would make sense to move into a design role and build up your experience before you move on. Also, do you have the finances necessary? So ideally, you want your employer to sponsor you and then push you through and support you until you achieve the VCDX. The other thing to consider is, do you have the time? Whether your employer supports you or not, you're going to have time issues in your own personal time. So if you have a young family and you don't really have the time necessary, then I wouldn't attempt it. The other thing to consider is, which track are you going to follow? So at the moment we have data center, cloud, desktop, and network virtualization tracks, and it would make sense to align the track that you're going to attempt with your core skill set. So with the pre-submission to VCDX, there's basically 9 months to 2 years where you have to prepare yourself before you submit your design. So the first thing is to get your VCP and VCAPs out of the way as soon as possible. You also should participate in VMware organised events such as training, boot camps, workshops. VCDX mentoring is very important. And also now we have the VCDX Fast Track, which is the paid preparation pressure test for VCDX. You also need to start T-skilling yourself so that you're minimally competent in all areas of the blueprint. You also need to read the manual of all of the products in your design. There's loads of podcasts, blogs, VMware publications, past VMworld sessions, and also Pluralsight training that are tools that you can use to build up your skill set. It's also worth mentioning that the Art of Infrastructure Design is going to be released in 2015, which is basically the VCDX methodology, and also the VCDX Bootcamp book is also available, which is key to helping you prepare for the process. It's also worth mentioning that the Cisco design methodology and the VMware design methodology are based on the Zachman framework, if you're interested in the background where it all came from. The other thing to consider is what type of lab you're going to use, because you're going to need a lab for developing your design and your operational procedures and also your functional testing. You also need to consider, is your design going to be business critical or mission critical? Will it be actual or fictional? Will it be past or current? You also need to consider the power of simulators, because if you have an enterprise design that you can actually build in a home lab with simulators, this means that you can work from home and build your documentation at a very low cost. It's also worth considering to start from zero with your design, where you start with the business requirements, then you link that to the logical design, and then to the physical design with cross-referencing of numbering and links. Common stumbling blocks that the VCDX candidate experiences is silo isolation, and typically VCDX candidates are very weak in business continuity and disaster recovery, security, networking, and storage. So it's very important to build up your skills. You also need to make sure that you have VCDX level reviews of all of your documentation before you actually submit, because you want to submit the most complete design possible. Also, when you submit your VCDX submission, you also need to make sure you cover all areas of the blueprint, and that the review of your documentation takes no more than 4 hours, because there's actually a time limit for the panelists when they review your design. Once you submit your design, you start the 60-day countdown. So there you have a 30-day countdown before you receive your invitation to defend, and it's very important to maximize the use of that time. So do not stop your preparation. So generate a tactical plan where you maximize your time to ensure that you're prepared for the defense. It's worth joining a study group. Groups of 3 I found are optimum. We use flashcards, Q&A sessions to build your T-skilling, and also mock presentations. When you start the post-submission process, you need to make sure that you develop your presentation. So I've found that a maximum of 60 slides, with 20 slides for your main presentation and 40 slides of support diagrams and information, where you are presenting the design highlights. You're not expected to present the entire design. You're expected to present what is cool and effective about your methodology. It is also critical to participate in VCDX mock panels, okay? So it's very important that you do 3 parts of the panel, where you have the presentation, the design scenario, and the troubleshooting sessions. You also need to develop your critical thinking, where you can think like a panelist, and this allows you to find the holes within your design and also your colleagues' designs. And the weakness of your submitted design is what is considered your attack surface. These are the main questions that your panelists are going to ask you, so you need to prepare your strategy for that. And of course, it goes without saying, you need to know your design back to front and inside and out. It's also very important to develop your presentation skills. It's a skill that's often overlooked. A lot of people freeze when they're in public and performing public speaking. So it's very important to develop the steady, concise delivery of information, the ability to think on your feet and deliver information in a clear and precise manner. With your presentation, it's very important also to have alternate scenarios for all of your design choices, so that for each particular design choice, you can talk about constraints or assumptions or requirements that stopped you from selecting the optimum solution. Once you are accepted for your defense, you need to book your travel as soon as possible. It is an administrative overhead, but you want to get it out of the way as soon as possible, because if you miss the defense, then it's all for naught. It's also very important to take 1 week of vacation before D-Day, so you can focus all your time and efforts on preparation. And also on the day of the defense, it's very important to keep calm, because it's easy to freak yourself out. If you want to know more, there's loads of information on the internet. I have a 20-part series on my blog at VCDX133.com, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.